as children even, one of the first lessons we were taught was don't hit. Don't hit, the role that we all learned as children, is exactly what the policy threatens to do to someone who feels inclined to remain on the property after violating other of these unconstitutional rules that still exist in the policy. If the police are called and someone decides not to cooperate by leaving, what would the police do? Would they hit them? What if the victim of an oppressive city government continued to be uncooperative in their own unlawful kidnapping? Would they get punched, tased, shot, or killed? Everything the police do is backed up by force, or at least the threat of force. Otherwise, people wouldn't listen to them. So the very existence of this policy really exposes that the people who draft the policy and the people who enforce the policy are the criminals.
Hey guys, I'm from Metro Audit, aka the Mile High Auditor. We're back here at Englewood City Hall to do another public comment on the standards of behavior policy, the unconstitutional one. So this is the third visit here. So we're going to go in here and check and see if that's policy still posted.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how you doing, man?
Man, you know how it is.
Yeah. Is Regan here yet?
Hey, yeah, it's gonna be good.
Oh, okay, cool, thank you. So we forgot to check and see if the standards of behavior policy is still up there. So let's go check that. I can already see it, so looks like yes, it is. And of course, there's the main one we were discussing, the unsanitary bodily hygiene, which is still there. So they've made no changes. Let's go upstairs and check that one. And I actually was corresponding via email with City Manager Shawn Lewis, and I sent him a list of everything that we want either revised or completely removed. It was a huge long email. I spent literally hours on it. So of course I still got it here. And once I told him that, I had a few choice words for him. You know, that it's a bit embarrassing that I even have to tell him about it. I mean, he's the expert, right? So I don't know if that's why he ignored me, but I sent that email 2-3 weeks ago. I had no response, so we are going to read some of that email today.
What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up?
Our draft policies have the odors off the standards.
What's that?
Our draft standards of behavior revisions have removed that odor item from the standards. So we've got legal just kind of doing a final review on that.
It's still, so it's not up though, because I saw the.
No, we have to get their final legal review before we can.
What was your thoughts on all the rest of the stuff that I mentioned?
I mean, basically just that it's well within the purview of cities to provide, behavioral standards within facilities. Not everything that you mentioned that is against the law is actually against the law. So if we don't have that in the rules, then there's nothing we can do. If someone is doing those, exhibiting those behaviors, there's nothing we can do about it unless we have a rule in place. So we're just trying to provide a level playing field for everybody, and just to have the same set of rules that apply to everybody, not at the discretion, of a parks employee or a librarian or a city manager.
Right. Well, the ones that I said that have laws, you want to just leave those, like trespassing and no public urination in the hallway, right? You want to leave that on there?
Believe it or not, those aren't all violations of the law. They are outside in public, but you could do it in a corner and there's no rule against that.
Really? Mm-hmm. So in a public building, anyone can literally go pee in a corner of a hallway and that's legal?
It's my understanding we don't have specific ordinances against that. We have ordinances against public urination, like so doing that in front of someone or exposing yourself to someone. But no, a lot of the things that you assume are in the law are not.
Okay. So, but like like trespassing or vandalizing things. All
But
that
we
other
have to
stuff.
have something to trespass you for some violation of a rule. So we could trespass you if you break a law, but again, there are lots of things that aren't laws, but that are standards of behavior that make sure that our facilities are welcoming and safe for everybody.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the rest of them were violations of the law.
Yeah.
So, what about the vague ones?
That's what we're tightening up.
You're tightening those ones up too?
Yeah, there was another one on possessions. We're making some changes on possessions.
Okay.
That we're not. The library helped, come up with some tweaks on that, and that got sent to the attorney's office last week, and so we're reviewing that. I can't remember exactly what that was.
What about like the vague ones that just says like failure to comply with a directive of an employee, and there's really no examples and stuff like that? Did you want to list maybe some examples instead of just saying anything that an employee says is, you know what I mean? Because that kind of just gives the employees too much discretion. And just
That's a good point you're making. I think what we're trying to avoid is there's no way we could cover every scenario. I think I told you about in my last city, we had seniors that wanted to ride their scooters in, the senior center. Well, no one foresaw that could happen until, we had to write a rule about it. So, we can't give an example for everything. So we put statements like that if it's a reasonable request from a staff member, those need to be followed.
Can you do me a favor? Can you, when you guys get the new one finalized, could you shoot me an email with that?
Yeah.
Definitely. Kind of look at it. I can be prepared when I come in here. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah, thank you.
First speaker up is Christopher Cordoba, here to address council regarding the standards of behavior policy. Good evening, Mr. Cordoba. If you could just state your name and your address or cross streets.
Hi there, my name is Christopher Cordova. And just so you guys know, it's actually pronounced Cordova, not Cordova. But that's okay, a lot of people do that. Kind of depends on where you're from. So.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah. We had a success. I just spoke with Mr. Lewis, and he informed me that they're going to remove the bodily hygiene out of the standards of behavior. So that's great news. And then I think he said something about personal property also was going to be readdressed. So with that said, that's a good first step. There's still several things on here that are unconstitutional, at least a couple. Specifically, clothing. Clothing is unconstitutional, and the pornography viewing, again, like I said last time, I don't condone people watching pornography, but like I said, the benefit does not outweigh the risk, and I'd be happy to clarify that in maybe another meeting, or if anyone wants to reach out to me via email, I'd be happy to explain that to you guys.
Okay, guys, so let's break down this pornography watching in public thing. Now, I know many of you may have reservations in regards to this, but like I said, I don't believe the benefit outweighs the risk, and let me explain why. The 2003 case of the United States versus the ALA was a decision in which the United States Supreme Court ruled that the United States Congress has the authority to require public schools and libraries receiving E-rate discounts to install web filtering software as a condition of receiving federal funding. So they do have the authority to install web filtering software, but they don't have the authority to outright ban watching pornography in public. If somebody goes in there with their cell phone and they want to watch pornography on their 5G network, they can do so. The chances of you running into someone who's watching pornography in a public library is far and few between. Rebecca Winning, who was the Associate Director of Communications and Public Engagement for Jefferson County Libraries, said, quote, "We rarely get complaints from patrons about being exposed to graphic images. In the standards of behavior, there's a policy that bans people from bringing in bags of garbage with foul odor. How many people are bringing in bags of garbage with foul odor? Is this really a legitimate scenario that happens a lot that you need to ban it? Same thing with watching pornography in a public library or any public building. Like I said, the benefit doesn't outweigh the risk, and to me, this is like trying to kill a cockroach with a 9mm. It's totally overkill, and what you're going to end up doing is making things worse." Winning said the library follows standards set forth by the American Library Association, which recommends against filtering computers. The American Library Association has consistently been against the idea of filtering software because blocking access to constitutionally protected speech violates the Library Bill of Rights. Internet filtering may not block all objectionable sites. Stricter filtering may even block sites that are deemed harmless, such as medical websites about breast cancer, said Cindy Phillips, Director of Library Programs and Services. This is what I'm talking about. This is how it makes it worse. Not only does web filtering software not block everything it's intended to block, but it sometimes blocks things it's not intended to block, such as breast cancer websites or National Geographic. This is educational material that every American has a right to access, and it's imperative that children can access this material. Now, although the case of the United States versus the American Library Association deemed it constitutional to install web filtering software, it also infringes upon our right to receive speech and is contradictory to the 1943 case of Martin versus City of Struthers, which is a case in which the Supreme Court ruled the First Amendment includes the freedom to receive speech, as well as the freedom to speak. Now, just because they can install web filtering software, again, doesn't mean they can outright ban the viewing of pornography. Let's refer back to Rebecca Winning, former spokeswoman for Jefferson County Public Libraries. Quote, "We follow the law. If the law allows access to certain information that you or I might find objectionable, we allow patrons to access it." Now, I know this might challenge your beliefs a little bit, but I know you all have an open mind, and that's why you're part of the DMA crew in the first place. George Orwell taught us, the founders of this country taught us, and history in general have taught us that taking away liberties bit by bit is how you lead society into a state of totalitarianism. Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico, said it simply but effectively. Every time you pass a law, it is a little bite out of freedom. And that, my friends, is why the benefit does not outweigh the risk. We're about to jump back into the video, but for transparency's sake, I have to let you guys know that Jefferson County Public Libraries has since changed their position on pornography viewing. They now have a zero tolerance policy and state that they can ask you to leave for the day and suspend your library privileges, which is false. That's deceitful, and government does this all the time. Now, Jefferson County Libraries is not associated with Englewood. Englewood is Arapahoe County. Jefferson County is just where I found all of this relevant information. Now, Jefferson County Libraries is the library district associated with Belmar Library, and we know they lie all the time. They actually have a code of conduct stating that photographing other users of the library without permission is prohibited, and a violation of the code of conduct may result in suspension of library privileges and access to facilities, which again is a complete lie. Because, I've challenged that several times and they can't do anything about it. So unfortunately, they have changed their position. And the reason they changed their position is because people kept giving them flack about it. People kept putting pressure on them to change this policy, to not allow people to watch pornography in public. And again, I'm not condoning people watching pornography in public. I just don't think it's safe. It's not what we need, guys. We don't need to lose more freedom. And what are the chances of you or your children coming across somebody watching pornography in a public library anyways? It's so slim. Your kids could get into a major car accident driving down the road. Does that mean you're never going to go on a car ride with your children in the car? You can't protect your children from everything. And just as Benjamin Franklin said, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. It takes a very strong individual to stand up against people who disagree with you, especially when you're outnumbered. It takes a man with courage to stand up in opposition of everyone around you. So before we jump back into the video, I'm going to end this with a small clip from a guy I've been following on Instagram, That Mindset Coach. He's amazing. Check it out.
It takes a very confident, almost high testosterone, alpha type person to stand alone and say, I believe this, whether you all believe it or not. And most people just can't do that. Most people will make decisions based around what the other people think, so it's safe, because they can't actually defend themselves. The safe decision is to agree with what everybody else thinks. So what we really need to understand is why people say they believe things that they don't actually believe, and it's because they're afraid. And the reason that they actually say that they believe these things is because they think that everybody else believes them.
I did write Mr. Lewis an email, and I implore all of you to check out that email where I go through everything in detail of the things that we, the people, want either revised or removed. There's other things that need to be revised as well. Miss Wright, I would like to thank you personally for you getting a lot of praise from my viewers, and I think you really care, and I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you. So I would like to read some of the parts of the email that I wrote. There should still be a lot of these that are removed because they are unconstitutional. So again, I implore you to check those out. I go into detail with that. I just don't have time here. But the ones that should still be removed, even though there's a lack of unconstitutionality, because they do not serve to make anyone in an Englewood city facility safer or feel more welcomed. And many of them serve as useless reiteration of laws that already exist, all of which everyone is already aware of. So a lot of these laws, even kindergartners understand that they can't commit these crimes that are listed in the standards of behavior policy. And as children even, one of the first lessons we were taught was don't hit, right? The policy states that all of these standards are supplemental to all other actions authorized by law, and law enforcement may be called, even though that's actually not true. But it's ironic because don't hit, the role that we all learned as children, is exactly what the policy threatens to do to someone who feels inclined to remain on the property after violating other of these unconstitutional rules that still exist in the policy. If the police are called and someone decides not to cooperate by leaving, what would the police do? Would they hit them? What if the victim of an oppressive city government continued to be uncooperative in their own unlawful kidnapping? Would they get punched, tased, shot, or killed? Everything the police do is backed up by force, or at least the threat of force. Otherwise, people wouldn't listen to them. So the very existence of this policy really exposes that the people who draft the policy and the people who enforce the policy are the criminals. And again, I think that we've made some good steps here, but there's more things in here that need to be gotten rid of. And the thing too is the vast majority of the people that enter these buildings, they don't even know that this policy exists, but yet they don't harass people and they don't vandalize things. Do some commit these acts? Yeah, of course they do, but they're the minority, and the people that are going to engage in those activities are going to do it regardless of the standards of behavior policy. Not to mention, people who abide by the law, they don't do that simply because they read the standards of behavior policy. So for all of you, is that the only reason you don't commit a crime is because you read the standards of behavior policy? Nor is it the reason for everyone else. The truth is, I feel I have a duty to safeguard freedom and hold government accountable for their wrongdoing, because government oftentimes can't follow their own rules. We have to make all of these rules coincide with the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land.
Mr. Cordova.
Yeah.
Cordova, sorry. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Any questions for members of council? See none. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Up next is Kelly Utter McCloskey, an Englewood resident here to address council.
Kelly Utter McCloskey, District 4. I'm a Christian. The kind of Christian I am is the kind that doesn't think I'm better than anyone else. I love people unconditionally. I pray before I do anything. After January 16th council meeting, I felt I needed to come speak. Yes, I prayed about it. I have been here a few times to speak about our homeless community. I have showed you pictures of a man named Clint, whose face was beaten where one eye was swollen shut. I showed you a picture of a young man whose feet were frostbit so bad they were black. His name is Jeremy, and I listened to him cry from the pain. I've talked about Bobby, who was murdered at the duck pond. He was beaten to the point they had to identify him by his fingerprints. I'm still following his case. My friend Megan was raped and beaten to death right here at our city light rail. These are my homeless friends. I've spoken about how my neighbor, Darlene Grass, was murdered on her front porch. The trial is February 13th. These are all human beings. Did any of you sit up on council and cry? No. This was traumatizing to our neighborhood. Did any of you reach out to me or our neighborhood to inform us of what services were available? If you would have, you would know. People were so traumatized, they moved out of our neighborhood. I have shed more tears in 1 year over the loss of my homeless friends and my neighbor than any other point in my life. At our council meeting, January 16th, Joe Anderson, you felt Councilmember Wright said something that was making accusations, assumptions, or ill will towards Councilmember Nunnenkamp. Really? Let me remind me what you did to Kathy Naughton. You attacked Kathy's character, accused her of slander. She even brought names of people who defended what she said. I'm here to tell you, I was with Kathy. I heard it myself, Joe. Joe, you allowed your spokesperson to cyberbully Donna Jones, Jennifer White, and Stephanie Brooks and did nothing. I thought after the election in November, things would start moving forward. I'm not sure if you're ignoring the fact we have a divided city or you just don't care. Chelsea, you started crying because you felt disrespected, and reimbursement of Sierra was one of the hardest decisions you've had to make while on council. How do you think these ladies felt being bullied? How many of our council members said or did anything to stop these ladies for what they went through? I guess it's a good thing we all have thick skin. I once again wanted to thank the Englewood Police Department for their work because everyone that murdered my friends are behind bars. I would like to thank Vicki, our assistant attorney, for showing compassion. Last Chelsea, when you spoke about how people would look back someday to see what happened at January 16th meeting, how you voted and why, that will happen. Because we have people watching now. We have children and grandchildren watching, wanting to learn about government. They're going to see a council bullying citizens, attacking citizens' character. I apologize, Kathy, that I didn't speak out sooner. I don't know Jennifer and Stephanie, but I'm sorry you were bullied. I'm sorry, Donna, you were bullied. Council, you need to do a better job. Just remember, council, every day is a gift from God. You never know when will be your last. Darlene, Bobby, Megan, never knew it would be their last. Did any of you cry? I came here and spoken to you. Oh, and by the way, Clint, who was beaten, that I was so worried about, he's dead now. So I'm going to tell you, I'm not even showing you guys pictures of people that are
Ms.
dead.
McCloskey, thank you for your time tonight.
So am I supposed to just put these in a file them away for murders in 2023 in Englewood?
Ms. McCloskey, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you all very much for coming. And actually, Mr. Cordova, thank you for coming and thank you for bringing these things to our attention and the fact that some of these are being addressed. And I think I'm hopeful that we will continue to look into them. And I do thank you that it is each one of our duties to really protect our constitutional rights, and I thank you for doing that. Ms. McCloskey, thank you so much for coming to speak, and I appreciate how you reach out to people and you're not letting them ever be forgotten, because it is a very sad thing in Englewood when people die. And I would like to get some information from staff or even PD about what we could do in the future in reaching out to neighborhoods that have experienced crime. I know that we did a neighborhood meeting down at Bellevue Park when there was a shooting down there, and I'm really wondering if council needs to be more proactive in reaching out to neighborhoods where crimes have been committed.
did you hear me in there talking? Well, they have the standards of behavior policy. Are you familiar with it?
A little bit.
Well, they have like a bunch of unconstitutional like policies in there. So like one of them is the unsanitary bodily hygiene one. Have you heard of that?
A little bit. That's
Basically, something like body odor, they just like kick you out of there. They said they were going to remove that, so. What would happen, like, let's say somebody like said, hey, we need this guy trespassing, he stinks. Would you trespass somebody out of a public building for that?
from my understanding, just because I don't deal with all that stuff right now with my position. That is more of like the city, so like the security person or whatnot would give them a warning, I believe. And then from there, if they were like, well, I'm not going to do anything about it, I think they can be served basically a notice that they're on notice. And then there's other steps after that. So it's not like well, you stink, you're getting a ticket and possibly arrested, so.
But that's what I'm saying, what if they got a warning and then they said, okay, we need this guy to leave because he has body odor, and then he refused to leave, he didn't want to, would you go in there and use force on him?
Me personally, probably not, no. Again, I'm the type where I'll go have a whole conversation with you first and go through, because each side has two sides of the story, right? Of everything that's going on, so it just depends on each circumstance and everything like that. So.
But I mean, we'll say he decided he's not going to go. You're trying to talk to him. Would you try to get him to leave?
Again, I haven't looked at any of that stuff, so because
Right.
just my position right now at the police department, I don't usually go through and have to deal with that, so I don't know
Right.
how that's been dealt with and whatnot. I know it's been talked about a lot, so.
The point that I'm trying to get at, though, is just, so many officers in my profession, I've noticed they don't honor their oath. You know what I mean? Like the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and there's so many unconstitutional laws, that being one of them, which they actually agreed because they're removing it.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm just asking. Like if somebody was to tell you, hey, you need to, your sergeant said, hey, man, you need to use force on this guy. He's not leaving, so I need you to grab him and force him out of the building. We want people to not do that. We want people to be order followers. You know what I mean? We want people to honor their oath. And like, there's lots of stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with Adam Kokesh. He's a civil liberties activist, but anyways, he actually got threatened with trespassing, threatened with arrest for taking pictures on Freedom Plaza on the sidewalk,
Okay.
which is like, right outside the White House. And even though there's a bunch of other people there with, their little phones, but he had like a bigger camera, kind of like mine. And they're saying that he needs a permit to do that. So I guess in his situation, the First Amendment doesn't apply. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many unconstitutional laws that, and it's the thing is too, it's like for you guys, a lot of officers would be like, well, hey, man, I just have to do it because if I don't do it, I'll get fired or I'll get in trouble, right? Stuff like that. And people have families to feed. So we want it to stop, people making all these unconstitutional laws through legislature, but we also want the police officers like yourself to, honor your oath. And really, you should just disobey. Like even soldiers do it a lot too. Soldiers are supposed to disobey unconstitutional orders, but they never do it. Like in Hurricane Katrina, the National Guard was disarming citizens. And the whole point of the Second Amendment is to be armed in times of chaos, right? Like we don't need to have weapons when everything's peaceful. So that's just another example. So
Sure.
I just want to throw that out there for you.
Yeah.
So, think about it. Like, there's actually another one that I'm trying to get removed now. It says that failure to wear clothing that covers the upper body. So, like if somebody wants to wear a bikini in here, they can because it's a public facility. Now, if it was like McDonald's and they say, hey, this is our policy, well, that's private. So they can say no red shirts, no bikinis, but
Sure.
they say, hey, you can't do that. And
Sure.
have officers, going against their oath to the Constitution and illegally trespassing people out of there. And it just costs the city a bunch of money too, because that entire policy is like a civil rights lawsuit waiting to happen. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but maybe check out it's sitting out there if you ever bored one day or whatever, you want to go check it out and read it.
Sure.
Let me know what you think. All right, man, I'm gonna get out of here.
Sorry, they're
Oh,
airing
talking?
something out. Yeah. No, man, you have a good night. So
You too.
stay warm.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's
You
not
got a
too
business
bad.
card?
What's that?
You got a business card?
Yeah. If I can get it out.
And is that Radell?
Riddell.
Riddell.
Yes, sir.
Kind of like the football helmet.
Close. Riddle. It's Riddell.
Rydell. I thought it was called Rydell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have an officer, Riddle, that works with us as well. There you go, partner.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah, man, some of these Englewood guys are pretty good. I mean, I've met a few of you guys. Ones that work up here is really nice.
Yeah, we
I
tried.
know, my friend Rita Benson, you know her?
Yes.
What do you think about her? She's a firecracker or what?
She's always been good with me.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, she has kind of a lot of issues with Englewood and stuff, but I haven't had really any bad interactions with Englewood police officers that I can think of. They've all been pretty nice, so.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too, man.
Try to do good.
Yeah, you guys seem good by me, man. So a lot of people think like, oh, I'm just here to antagonize cops and, you know, make them look bad and stuff like that. That's totally not true. Like, I might put some of this up on my video, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I like to highlight officers too, the public employees. And there's people that are just like they're trolls and they're, oh, you're just looking for a confrontation and all that. And it's like, I really am not. Like, what I want is like to put myself out of business. I don't have to do this, right? But there's always going to be corruption and stuff like that. Like, people say, oh, you're just looking for a confrontation. Well, that's like saying, oh, doctor, he's just hoping that people get sick, right?
Right.
it's like, you know, it's inevitable people are going to be sick. So he has a job security, the same type of thing.
Yeah,
So.
I got you, partner.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
You
have a
great
good night,
one.
man. It's nice to meet you.
You too. All right, man. We're going to get out of here. Regan wasn't here today. Regan, she wasn't here today.
I have not seen her. That's right.
Yeah. Because they called her name up there and she wasn't there, so something must have
Should be
happened.
here then.
Yeah.
Maybe next
Maybe
one.
next one. All right, brother.
Have a good day.
You too. So that was a pretty good success, guys. You know, baby steps there. They got rid of the bodily hygiene policy. We need to get rid of that one that states that you have to wear clothing that covers the upper body. So they can't ban bikinis in here. And of course the pornography thing that I explained on the voiceover. And so that's pretty much it, guys. So we will be back at the next Englewood City Council meeting to see what's transpired, what steps have been taken, what progress has been made. Thanks for coming in, guys, and thanks for following this story. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your help. If you like my content, make sure you like and subscribe. If you've been subscribed for a while, consider joining my membership. It's only $3 a month to support the DMA channel. You get a lot of cool extra perks. And that's it, guys. Remember, forced patriotism is the opposite of freedom.